Our agenda, it's pretty straightforward. Quick introduction. Then I'm going to show you a slide deck of planning analytics. Not too big though. I don't want to slide deck it to death. Then we're going to do a demo, getting into the actual system itself, followed by Q&A. Even though there was a Q&A at the end, at any time if you have any questions, please feel free to just reach out and let me know. That being said, let's get started. All right, so here's some of the TechD team that a lot of you will either get emails from or calls or whatnot. Jenny, Brad, Phil, and then I'm the one on the left, Mark Martina. So I'm a system architect, a managing partner with TechD. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm an implementer and user of planning analytics. So I'm gonna give you some kind of real life experience. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to just ask them. Thank you. All right, so here we go. Planning analytics, continuous, agile, and integrated planning. All right, organizations using manual and disconnected process are faced with many challenges. I think the #1 planning, budgeting, and forecasting tool of the company is still Excel, and it's probably more than 50%. There are a lot of problems with Excel. The way the process usually works is Excel files get sent out. Everybody puts whatever they think is appropriate in there. They send them back to the home base. Somebody has the awful job of putting them together and consolidating them. And then when you find out that everything's wrong, you got to repeat the entire process again. It is long, tiresome, painstaking, and prone with errors. And we don't like it. So what is the whole purpose of these financial activities? Drive the enterprise. Make decisions by anticipating the future, drive profitability, a lot of the reasons for the tool itself. Right? And one of the issues with a lot of people's plans are that they're not connected. For example, you have your different, you've got sales, you've got logistics, you've got finance, you've got marketing, capital, all these different values, all these different, measures which actually interact, but most people actually don't do that. But they should be all integrated. If your capital goes up, if you have a larger workforce, and you know that financially you're going to have more requirements, but in theory you should be making more money, and all this should be integrated. And a lot of times it's not, especially with those just Excel files everywhere. All right. So now what we're doing is we're proposing an integration. So everything comes to one, same interface, but different data, but it's all integrated, and it's able to roll up, real time. So you can see the high level numbers, you can see how everything integrates. You make a change here, it affects here. If I make a change in sales, and I know that there's some changes here. If this budget goes up, then I know that I need adjustments here. So now everything's integrated into one system, one unified interface, one data set, so we can actually see how all these numbers are interacting. Right, that's where IBM Planning Analytics comes into play. Right. So it's designed to drive efficiency, and there's mass efficiency. If you're in an Excel world now, the efficiency level is going to go through the roof. Things that take you weeks will literally take you minutes now. Efficiency level is going to go literally through the roof. So agility, flexible, budget, planning, forecasting. You have the ability to do more forecasting than you do currently. Potentially, there'll be one forecasting a year. I've got clients that do quarterly forecasting. They have a 0-12, 3-9, 6-6 type forecast. You could forecast weekly if you wanted to, or monthly, because the process is going to be much more agile. And obviously improve your outcomes. It's going to be just more correct, without a doubt, so it's less prone for errors. And you'll be able to actually do a lot more calculations you're able to do before, since you will have all that interactive data together. All right, so here's some of the capabilities. So fast performance, we want it to be quick, and it actually is real time. So if I put in a low level number, I'm selling 20 of these widgets, and last year I only sold 10, but I'm saying 20 now, I'll literally see that top side number change instantly. So it's real-time consolidation, real-time entry of data. So I can just hit enter, the number's in the system, and I'll see it actually roll up instantly. It's perfect. Easy to use web interface. Everybody likes the web nowadays. Everybody wants everything cloud-based or web-based at least. They want pretty charts, graphs, and dashboards, all that's included. But we never remove Excel. You know, it's finance. Finance people love Excel. We're not taking that away. So you can just as easily enter data in Excel as you do through the web. Right? So you have either option for sending data into the system, Excel or web interface. And by web interface, it supports all your main browsers, Firefox, Chrome, Safari, and Internet Explorer. So you could technically use your PC, your tablet, or even if you wanted to, your phone, though the real estate's pretty small on the phone. Right? Visualizations, dashboards, high power visualization. So even if you're not the person entering the data, you can still see the data in a slick and easy to digest manner. Powerful modeling, supports business requirements. You can do anything and everything with it. Self-service is pretty much the name of the game. Flexible and scalable. Flexible deployment options, so it can be on-prem, it can be on the cloud. You can have multiple servers. Users from around the world can actually interact with it simultaneously. Secure, governed, and compliant. IBM is huge with security, so you can lock everything down to the lowest level or have it more open depending on what your needs are. Right? And then align your planning process with the corporate strategy. So it's very flexible. There's a certain way you want to do things at certain timings, then you can still do that going forward. All right. Under the covers, there's an in-memory engine. It's a TM1 engine. That's why everything is real-time. Right. You can build models with any number of dimensions, ability to create sophisticated planning models, move from conventional to flexible scenarios with your what-if analysis. What-if analysis, I'll show you how that works. It's pretty slick. You can essentially go with different scenarios. So what if, simple one, what if the currency conversion goes up 1% or 2% or 5%? How does it affect my bottom line number or my top side number? You can go through all those scenarios simultaneously, see how those little changes can actually change the top number, and you can select which scenario you want. It's actually pretty easy to use, and it works really slick. You have complex dimensional calculations, calculating pretty much any value you want, year-over-year compares, month-over-month, quarter-over-quarter, calculating EBITDA or any other value you really have. Cognitive insights, allow users to deploy algorithms to employ forecasting. So instead of just doing a forecast on your own, you can actually have the AI create a forecast for you and use that as a baseline if you want. And then when it comes to data sources, we connect to pretty much anything and everything. So if you have an ERP system, we'll connect to that. If you have an HR system that's separate with headcount and salaries and things like that, we can connect to that as well. We can merge data internally. You can also connect to flat files if maybe it's only in Excel or in some type of common delimited file. We can easily load that, or you can just type the value in or cut and paste it with Excel. All right. Interactive and customizable web interface. So web interface is really slick and it's easy to use. It's designed for a user to just kind of drag and drop. One thing that's pretty cool about it too is it has some natural language processing built in. So you can type in a question about, what's my, most expensive product, or what's my most profitable product, or who's my best salesperson, and it'll come back with charts, graphs that'll actually support those questions. Right. So Workspace is that dashboarding tool that's built into Planning Analytics. And so here's kind of just a little look at what that dashboard entails and what it can bring to the table. But I'm actually going to show you the dashboard live, so I don't think we have to really harp on this too much. But you can see it does have charts, graphs, data, KPIs on it, maps, and everything. And a robust Microsoft Excel integration. So you can use Excel 100%, you can use the web 100%, or you can do some hybrid of a little bit of both. You don't have to pick one or the other. You can use, a blend of both technologies, and most people do just because certain things are great in the web, pretty dashboards, a lot of flair. Then, cutting and pasting data and doing calculations and tabs in Excel is hard to beat. So it gives you the best of both worlds. So again, built-in data analysis. So you don't just put in your data, you can actually analyze your data right into the system. A lot of solutions don't have that, so they have to, they have to do whatever kind of hacking to actually get it done. They have to do a lot of duplication. You can also have multiple jobs and multiple hierarchies. So just because you look at, maybe your product groups one way, or your hierarchy of regions one way, maybe another group looks at it a different way. Well, there's nothing that says you have to do it one way or the other. You can do multiple at the same time, just alternate hierarchy paths. All right. Any questions so far? I kind of flew through the slides a little bit quick, but it's because I really wanted to get into the product itself and kind of demo it. All right. So if there's no questions, then let's do that. All right. So I'm going to start off with the web interface. So again, it supports all your main browsers. In this case, I'm using Chrome. What I'm going to do is I'm going to log into Planning Analytics. So usually you use single sign-on, so there's no need for username and password, but you can actually have it set up that way as well. So when I come in, this is what I see. So this is my web interface. Administration is only going to be for the admins. Well, most users will see something called shared, and that's pretty much shared with everyone. And then personal, which is your own kind of space. All right. I can filter, sort. So if I get a lot of different dashboards, I can definitely sort things. But this little shared section here, it's going to be divided up a couple things: folders, which can be here for just organizational purposes, and books. And books is just kind of the Planning Analytics way of saying a dashboard. So let's say I go into my retail folder. I look at it. I have a whole bunch of different dashboards here, and I can give people access to this or take it away. But if I go into, say, one of these, maybe something like CFO, this would be a dashboard of your data that you would supply to the CFO. The CFO would not get any type of templates to input data or anything like that because, why would they? They're not going to probably do that. But what they're going to do is take a look at the data. They want to see the KPIs. They want to see what's going on with the company, the health of the company. Right. So this is just kind of a standard dashboard geared for the CFO in Planning Analytics. So we have our KPIs at the top: gross revenue, cost of sales, marketing, net profit. We have our, country map here, and then a nice little chart next to it. And then you'll see here, you've got these little boxes. These little boxes are essentially your dimensions, and they're used to filter what you're looking at. All right. So right now I'm looking at my budget, but maybe I didn't want to look at my budget. I wanted to look at my actuals. So now it pulls up the actuals. And I have it set up so it's like one or the other, but if I wanted to, I could set the dashboard up to show you both. In this case, it's more of a toggle. I'm looking at 2019. Maybe I wanted to see what my actuals looked like for last year, so I can easily select that. And it's very easy to do. It's designed for pretty much little to no training. You just log in, and everything's just point and click. So that's my high level dashboard. Then I have got my strategic planning tab, and I can keep going down the list of different tabs. This one has KPIs, my strategic plan. It's got the workflow and how things are all interactive together. Got my KPIs at the bottom. So I've got net profit, allocations, and I've got my status. Green is good, red not so good, yellow is kind of in the middle. Got things like trends on here. So again, the whole purpose of this dashboard is to be just very easy, very simple, but give you a graphical representation of what's going on with all your data. And just because the system's, planning, budgeting, and forecasting doesn't mean you even have to do planning, budgeting, and forecasting. I've got a lot of clients that start with just reporting on their actuals. It's step one, and then later on, once they get a little bit more used to the system, a little bit more mature, then they start actually adding planning, budgeting, forecasting, targets, and things like that. Okay? But again, like everything else in here, it's all very dynamic. It's all just point and click. There's no coding for any users. Right now I'm looking at the total, area. So if I wanted to look at just the Americas, I can do that. It brings in those values. Maybe if I want to go down another level, go to just the United States, I can do that as well. And everything changes dynamically. Finance, my financial numbers. If I want to look at marketing, I just want to give you a look and feel at kind of the data, what it looks like, how it works. So in this case, the look and feel on each tab is kind of the same, but it's being divided up based upon, subject matter. So marketing dollars versus HR versus sales and things like that. All right. This is kind of a high-level dashboard that a CFO would use. Now, if I'm done with that, I want to go back. I can pick something else. So maybe I want to look at revenue. Here's my revenue dashboard. Okay. Now, what's nice is these dashboards don't necessarily have to be read-only. You can actually do read and write in here. All right. But if I take a look at this, so I'm looking at my volume units, my total channel, and this is just another way of filtering data. So if I wanted to look at gross revenue, I can click on that. It would change automatically. Gross margin. If I go back to my volume units, I look here. I've got my year, my quarters. Maybe I want to start doing my forecasting. So I go into forecasting. I'm looking at volume units. Here's my budget for 2019. I come right over here, and maybe I want to take a look at my 3G phones. I don't have to even have 3G phones anymore. Probably need 4G and 5G now, but it's okay. So I come over here, and I'm looking at my values. Let's say I want to change a value. No big deal. That's 345. Let's say I'm actually going to sell 350. I make the adjustment to 350. I'll do that going forward, maybe 1 or 2 months, and maybe I'll up it to 360. And if I type it in right, that'll help. All right. So you can enter data, and what you notice is it refreshes automatically. So the totals automatically change. So my product total right now, here's a good example. It is, 3,427. Well, instead of 360, if I make this 1360, hit enter, it's now 4,427. So when I enter the data at a low level, it actually aggregates it at a high level automatically. So if I've got different people, different regions, different divisions, and they're typing in their numbers, I don't have to worry about some type of close process where we then start consolidating the numbers and start looking at it. As people are doing their plan, their budget, their forecast, we can actually see the high levels change in real time, right? Then at Friday at 5 o'clock, when everybody has to have their submissions in, at 5:01, we lock the system and we're ready to do reporting it at 5:02, right? Because there are no batch processing that you need to do. It's going to aggregate the data real time. Easy, simple to use. Now, this is the web interface. Now, we can alternatively use the Excel interface, right? So if I go to Excel, and I think I have something open already. Let's take a look. Yeah, let me close a couple of these tabs. All right, so the way Planning Analytics works is everything's built on cubes. So unlike a database that has tables, it's a cube database. It's an OLAP database that stores your data. So I was looking at revenue. So revenue is a cube. So it's got organization in it, channel, product, month, year, version, and then our revenue values. Right. So this is showing you what a cube is made of. And if you're interested in this, great. If you're not, it's not a big deal. But somebody's going to end up creating this. So whenever you see one of those pull downs, whenever you're doing some type of filtering, it's always going to be on a cube, right? And I can have different views of it. One of the views I created is called Tech D Input. What I can do is I can open that up in the system, and there's different ways I can do it in Excel. In this case, I'm going to do it as what's called an exploration. An exploration is like a pivot table, kind of gone wild. So it allows you to very easily and simply kind of move things around, manipulate your data any way you want, look at it any way you want. All right, so if I take a look here, I'm looking at Massachusetts, I'm looking at my budget, volume units, 2019, and then the 3G phones. All right. If I look over here, I see that these numbers are kind of high. This is probably what I was adjusting before. So if I want to come in here and I want to tweak one of these values, I can easily do that right here. So for internet, well, let's do this one. So for retail, we're 2152. If I wanted to change that number and make it 2000, I can make it 2000. And it's that blue color because I haven't committed it yet. So if I commit that, it's going to let me preview my changes if I want to. So that's what it was. This is what's going to be. If I like it, great. I can also make it so I don't show this again. And I can just hit yes. And then we're good to go. Data goes into the system. And again, just like everything else, everything's real time, everything's in memory. And what's nice is that if I'm using the interface here and I'm changing this number here, it changes in the web front end as well. All right, so a change here is a change there. So you can use both interfaces simultaneously. Right. And the way this works up here is, again, it's kind of like a pivot table gone wild. So I can change how everything looks, is formatted any way I want. Right, so this is essentially my X and Y axis, so my columns and my rows. And this is what I'm filtering off of. I can easily change these things around. So if I wanted to add Massachusetts over here as well, I could just take it and my laptop mouse is not working that great. But there we go. And drag it over. And now it's giving me all my different regions here. If I want to filter out a select group of them, I can do that as well. Very easily, very simply. Edit my set, and so what I'll do is it'll show me a list of everything that's in the system now, and if I like it, great. If I want to tweak it to maybe just a few of these, I can easily do that. So let's say I keep these, but get rid of the rest. Apply and close. And now I'm just looking at my 3 different regions. And from a security point of view, I can lock it down. So maybe as a user, I'm only allowed to see these 3 different regions. Or maybe I'm allowed to see all of them, but I want to just work with these 3 right now because these 3 apply. Right? So now I'm looking at these 3 regions. If I want to make any type of changes, I can come in here and make changes very easily and simply. Make that 100, 200, 300, make those changes, commit my changes, and now they're in the system automatically. All right. Now, one of the features that's pretty powerful with that what-if analysis I mentioned is what's called a sandbox. If you look up here, it says base in this little sandbox section. So what I can do is I can come over here and I can create multiple sandboxes. Oops, this got big again. So how does a sandbox work? Well, I can come in here, I hit new, and I can name it anything I want. So I could say a new sandbox, so I can name it Sandbox 1, any name I think is appropriate. And so now instead of base, I'm working in what's called a sandbox. Right. So what does that mean? That means if I want to change these numbers, let's say I want to make this 500, and let's say I want to do something like this where all these guys are 500. I make a change here, I commit it just like I normally would. And you can set it to auto commit if you want as well, so you don't actually have to do the commit button. But by default, this is how it's set up. So I've changed everything to 500s. Right? I can see what my top line numbers look like because they're automatically aggregated. I can see what my end of the year looks like. Let's say I have a whole bunch of these. I'm not really sure what I want to go with. I've got this kind of like, what if this happens? What if that happens? Type of analysis going on. Well, that's what the sandbox is for. So now these changes I made are in the sandbox. They're not real yet. If I go back to my base no longer has those 500s. It has the original values there. So I'm able to toggle between multiple sandboxes and the base. Right? So if I want to do something like projections of what happens if I increase the price 1%, 2%, 3%, how's that going to affect my, my net profit? I can do all of those kind of what if scenarios right in here. And if I determine that, one scenario is better than the other, I can go back to that scenario and I can do what's called merge, and I can merge it right back into the base. The base is your official numbers. So now base and sandbox 1 are the exact same values. Right. So this is actually very powerful depending on what kind of analysis you're doing. It literally lets you go in, do any type of evaluation you want, but not just change a couple numbers here and there. It'll do the complete aggregation. It'll use all your different rules that are built into the system automatically, so you can see what the effect is going to be down the road. So I'm going to make a change here. I hit go. How's this going to affect this division, this product group, this region, right? So it could be something like a cost adjustment, or something like, what if our, what if we're going to charge a little bit more, or what if the currency conversion in, Europe changes a little bit, the dollar becomes stronger, the dollar becomes a little bit weaker. How's that going to affect, the entire corporate structure? And it allows you to go back and forth with all these different scenarios, come up with the values you need. Right? And it works fast, and it's definitely one of the most powerful features in the system. Now this is very, non-graphical version of Excel. This is an ad hoc analysis that we're doing, but there's a lot of other ways you can look at this data too. So we're doing something called an exploration, but you can do things like custom reports, dynamic and quick reports. A custom report is also very common. It allows you to kind of take different components and different elements of this and move them around, and you get pretty fancy with your templates. A lot of times if you want to make it kind of, error resistant for some users, make it very simple for them, you can come in here and create these very elaborate different templates for users, or maybe you want to create reports in Excel and you want to move things around. That's what that gives you the option of doing, right? So let's do a custom report on a new sheet. So if I look at it, it's going to look pretty much the way it did before. It's going to have my different months here, my different channels here, and here's my filters. But since it's a custom report, it's different. So if I click on any of these values, you're going to see that it's actually not the value itself, it's just a formula. The reason why they do that is now it gives you the ability to kind of change things, to move things around, and essentially create a custom report. So I come over here and I can literally move these things. So maybe I wanted what's going on here. There we go. So I wanted to move things around. I want to highlight things. I want to, what is going on with this? Not sure why that is the case. Hold on. I think that's something a little funky the way I have this set up. There we go. So I can come around here and I can move different values around. I can adjust where they are. And it gives me the ability to kind of create a report with the look and feel that I want. Not working there for some reason. Not sure what that is. I'll look at that later. If I wanted to highlight these high-level numbers, I can come in here and I can do that. Maybe I want to make these a little bit different. I want to make it easier to read. So I'll throw in You know, a little light green here. So I can make changes like this. I can hide different things if I want to, but it's still also very dynamic. If I wanted to switch it from 19 to maybe my 18 numbers, I can do that. Everything will change automatically. So it's a way of creating very customized reports right into Excel. You can format anything you want. You can put different logos in there. One example I believe I have here already is one I do for a client. There we go, EAC report. So this is something that we created that a client sends out to their different users. They don't even have to send it out. So when you're in Excel, you see the IBM Planning Analytics. But what you can do here is you can just open a template that's out there and bring it down. So this is a template. And so the way it works is it's got different controls with details here. It's got instructions on exactly what to do that are kind of screen printed into the system, right? And so we send this out to the users. Then they actually, here's your instructions. They're doing, in this case, it's performance obligations. They've got different values that they can input with different, it tells them when it was, who prepared it, who approved it, things like that. But anytime they type a value in here, under the covers, it's actually going into Planning Analytics. Right? And so this is an example of a custom type report. There are no actual values in the system. They're all still in the Planning Analytics environment. Right? And then when I come back into Workspace, I'll just come in here, I'll refresh, and my numbers will change automatically because I made those manipulations in Excel. And there's no differentiation between the interfaces. You're still changing numbers in one location, and this is just where you're looking at it. Now, the entire interface is designed to be used by the typical business user. You don't have to be any type of tech guru to do it. Right? So I come in here and I've got this dashboard now and I want to edit the dashboard. It's no big deal. I hit the little plus key. Allows me to create another tab, so I get a brand new tab. I can name anything I want. And then I come over here. And these are my different systems I have. So let's say I think I'm using the retail one. Most customers will have just one or maybe a few of these. So this is a demo environment, so I have a ton. And what I can do is I can come here and say I'm playing with my revenue cube still. Got my different views. So I got my TechD input, which is the view I was using in Excel. I can come over here and I can add that view right here automatically. Right. So when you create a view, it's very easy to do. You just kind of manipulate the data, the dimensions the way you want. You just save it as a view. I can then utilize those views in the web interface or in Excel. It's interchangeable. Right. So here it is. I can leave it as is. Great. I can make changes right here if I wanted to. No problem at all. All right. Changes are made automatically. If I like it, great. I can also duplicate it. So why would you duplicate it? That's a good question, because when I do that, so if I click on this, I've got this little menu that pops up, which gives me all these different options. And one of those options is for graphs. So maybe I want to do, some type of chart to show me what's going on. So I'll do a line chart. All right, it looks okay. Maybe it'll look a little bit better as something else. There's an area chart. And you can just go through all the different options. There's a ton of them. That one might be a little bit slicker for what we're dealing with. All right, we'll see retail is obviously way higher. You can get also fancier with it and do some kind of word cloud. Obviously, showed us that retail is the way to go. And there's just a whole bunch of different visualizations you can use. Pie chart's not bad either. Right. And I can leave it like this. And also what I can do too is I can come over here and I can do what's called synchronize. So if I synchronize my dimensions here, and I come over here and I synchronize them as well, that means if I make a change in one, I'm actually making a change in both. All right. So right now I'm looking at 2019. If I switch to 18, everything changes. So if that's the case, then I probably don't need all these displayed values. So I can just get rid of them, because why would I want to do it multiple times? I've created this chart, which matches up perfectly with this data. I can open things up if I need to. Let's go back to 2019. A little bit better from a numbers point of view. And as a result, you know, then why do I want to have my things locked up here? Right? Now, so I'm looking at Massachusetts. Well, I can actually grab that, take it right out. And now when I take Massachusetts and I switch to Maryland, everything changes. Right? So maybe I want to do that for the user. I want them to be able to switch their organization. I want them to be able to switch the years. And I want them to be able to switch the product groups. And that's it. So then I come over here, I hide this guy. Now I've got my numbers at the top. I've got my filters here. So if I want to switch it to, you know, 3G, now I'm looking at the 3G values. And I get kind of fancy with it. You may bring in something like this. And again, everything's designed to be kind of drag and drop, real easy to use. You know, the default color is green. I definitely know that you picked it. I want to make it something a little bit nicer, maybe that light blue. I can do that. Then I can take these guys, drag them right over here. And if I click on it, this little menu pops up, and I just want to send them to the back. Right. So that's just an easy way of creating a dashboard. If I need to create, you know, different images, I can add images, I can add different colors in the background. So everything's kind of a drag and drop world. So it's designed to be very easy and very simple for the user to use. Right. Then of course there's also the natural language processing. So I can do, you know, I want to look at the revenue by year for Maryland. And now that's my test system. It tends to work a little slow sometimes. But what this is designed to do is go out in your system, take a look at what's out there, and come back with different suggestions. Sometimes it comes back pretty quick. Other times, because it's a test system, it actually takes forever because there's a lot of just junk in there. Well, here we go. So what did it give me? Well, it gave me gross revenue for a different year for Maryland. Right? It tells me what cube it is. So if I like that, great. Then maybe I want to see this one. Revenue, year, Maryland. This one kind of looks a little bit better. But I can go down and see what else it came up with. It tells me what cube it came from, what system it came from. I have a lot of systems. That's why it takes a little while. If I like this one, great. I can hit use. And now I've got that in my system. If I like it, great. If I want to tweak it, no big deal. I can easily do that. So I'm looking at gross revenue, which is exactly what I asked for. Oops, not sure what it's there. Oops, there we go. But maybe I want to see all my different measures and not just that one. I can easily do that. So now I've tweaked it a little bit, and maybe I want to see it for a couple years. And it's for Maryland, but what I'll do is I'll click on this. I'll hit my properties, and I'll make this synced as well. So now everything here is going to be synced up with the other guy. And I probably don't want to sync my revenue because I changed that. So I'm going to unsync that guy, which means I can come over here and I can make this whatever I want. So you can sync certain values, other ones you can actually unsync. All right. And if I want to, I can kind of get rid of this. Maybe I want to put these values down here, just as an FYI. So there they are. But again, everything is now synced up. So if I go to 2020, there we go. That's kind of an overview of how it works. You can hit save. Now it's saved. So again, the system is designed to be very easy, very simple for users. It's all drag and drop. You can use web or Excel. It works with your tablet, your phone, anything you've got. So any questions? Anything specifically I may wanted to kind of ask or go over? Yep. So the way data gets into the system, you have these different processes. And the processes are able to load data into the system or export data out or do some internal calculations. So let's say we wanted to run one called, load prior year actuals. The user would come in here, it would be pre-created. They would just right click and do run process, and that'll bring in your actuals. Because a lot of times you don't want to schedule that because maybe your period hasn't closed yet. It never closes on the same day twice. You want to know when it's officially closed before you run in the data, or maybe it's the end of the month and a quarter and a year, and you're doing a lot of different adjustments and you want to see those. That's a great place to actually put those adjustments. That's a good question. All right. Any other questions? No? Okay. I think that's kind of what we wanted to review today. If anybody has any follow-ups, please let us know. I will share the slide deck with everybody who registered, so you don't have to worry about that. But again, hopefully, if you need anything, just let us know. And if you have any questions, just let me know. But hopefully this was informative for you, and that was the whole purpose. So I'll get back a few more minutes, everybody. Have a great day. Thank you for attending.